Hello, welcome to Mindful Monday. I'm Remy and today I'm talking about getting out of the rat race and our insatiable desire for more. So welcome, drop me a comment, let me know that you're here. I'm here every Monday at 6 o'clock GMT, the Azores time. So have you heard of John Maynard Keynes? John Maynard Keynes was a famous economist from the early 1900s. And in 1930, he wrote an essay called Economic Possibilities for Our Grandchildren, where he predicted what our society's wealth would be and how much we would work 100 years from now, which would have been 2030. So now here we are, about 100 years later, and we are the grandchildren, so to speak, of Keynes. And he was correct in predicting how much wealth our society would have, which is incredible considering how he projected things post-industrial revolution, which was a big change. However, he was incredibly wrong about the fact that he predicted people would work only 4 hours per day, because with the Industrial Revolution, there would be so much advancement and so much efficiency that people wouldn't need to create anymore in terms of work, the things that we need to live today, that we would have more leisure time. And he suggested that 100 years from then, which is essentially now, that we would be faced with this bigger question, which is, what will humanity do with our leisure time? So now, he couldn't be more wrong about that prediction. Most of us work well over 4 hours a day. And the question is why? Why was he so wrong about that prediction? I think that he and many other economists of that time underpredicted the incredible, insatiable desire for more that we humans have. And not only having more, but the fact that we've somehow found money as a means not only to an end, but as an end in itself. So meaning that many people today seek money just for the sake of having more money. And not only do we want more, but we want more as it compares to other people. So this insatiable desire for more is the definition of cancer. This is exponential growth without limitations, and this is literally what cancer is. And so no wonder, as we consume and as we want more and more and more, that we are creating the conditions that we live in today that are giving rise to global warming and to this coronavirus that we're living with today. Now, when we feel empty inside, when we don't feel a sense of self-worth with ourselves, if we don't feel that contentedness inside, we often seek to fill up with other things. We seek external ways to fill up, such as the type of car we drive, or how big our house is, or the latest phone, or the latest gadget, or having name brand clothing, or whatever it might be that we feel somehow compelled to buy and that make us somehow feel better. So this external self-worth not only is about filling ourselves up with things, but also comparing ourselves to other people. How often do we feel that we're left out of the club when everyone has, I'm hearing this thing, the Peloton bike. Everyone has a Peloton bike at home and they're getting their workouts in. And, I better have one of those so I can be cool and show that I've made it just like everybody else, or whatever the example is, whether it's the newest phone, etc. Now, when João and I moved here to the Azores, we looked at moving and figuring out, the key question was, could we make enough money to both live here full-time and work in this business, Minuvida Azores, full-time? And what was interesting is we looked at it from a very different way. Normally, and as if you listened to my Mindful Mondays before, you would have seen that I talked about how I made decisions in the past, and I think many of us do. We look at job possibilities as a comparison to, am I going to make more than what I'm making today, or am I going to make less? That's usually the major decision-making criteria. But in this case, since we were moving to a new country, since we were moving to a completely new industry, we looked at what we would need to make from the ground up. So I just wanted to give a shout out to some of the people here. So hello Akiko, Scott, nice to see you. Hello Raja, Linda, Heather, I'm so glad you're watching. Nuno, awesome. Okay, well, just let me know, drop me a comment if what I'm saying resonates. But talking about getting out of this rat race, and particularly how João and I knew how to make enough here. And so we looked at not only, we looked at what we needed here. We created a budget and what we needed for living expenses, for food, for entertainment. We even had a buffer for what we needed in case, things unexpected could happen, and an entertainment budget as well to enjoy life. But what we needed to make when we looked at this from the ground up was very different and far less than what we had been making in the US. Now, partly because here in Portugal, this is a different economy, it's a much lower cost. By the way, there's a lot of stuff for free here that US doesn't get, and I highly recommend getting into Europe. It's a pretty awesome, socialist community, which comes with high taxes as well, but, I think humanity is worth it. But when we looked at what we needed to make, it wasn't about what we had been making before. It was looking at things from the ground up. And so that was a key step in getting out of this mentality of always needing more, always needing to make more, and somehow feeling like our self-worth is measured by how much money we make. Like it's a price tag that we would wear on our heads. And so a couple things that we do now that I want to share. And first of all, I think it's important to say that I'm not perfect, and I know there's things that I can do better and that we can do better, but I am walking my talk. Everything that I'm sharing, everything that I'm talking about, we're actually doing. We left a consumer lifestyle. We left this life of constantly taking and consuming and wanting more and being part of that. And as I've talked about in this series in earlier episodes, I was very much a product of that. I valued myself by how much I made, and I took job decisions based on salary and these financial metrics alone. But now I want to share a couple ways that we live and walk our own talk here, and maybe this will inspire you in some ways as well. So looking at the ways that we consume, what are the things that we buy? So one of the things I used to buy a lot were clothes. I used to like having, new clothing. I would go to the shop and buy clothes, as I think many people and many women do. And nowadays, one of the things I do with friends is we trade clothes. And what's interesting is that I left a corporate career where I had a lot of nice business clothes, and I'm now mostly wearing hiking and yoga clothes. And so it's interesting to have friends here in San Miguel with whom I can trade, some of who used to be more in that hippie world and now have jobs here. So it's kind of fun that we trade. And we have rules around the clothing, it has to be clean, no holes, has to be something that our friends would want. And we get together in smaller groups and we make a night out of it. Obviously, we haven't done this since the quarantine, but I've already cleaned out my closet. I'm excited to get back into it soon. But this is a really great way to not spend money and to actually continue the life of a product, in this case, the clothing that we're using. And it's a lot of fun because each item of clothing has a story, and it's pretty cool when you see your friend at a social gathering months later and you're like, hey, that's my shirt or that's my dress or whatever it might be. So, and hello, Jessica and Nina. It's so nice to see you. Clems, glad you made it. Awesome. So another way that we run our business, and many of you know, we run a sustainable retreat center and lodge, is we believe in upcycling and reusing things. And so in the hospitality industry, there is so much pressure to have everything new and perfect, and a lot of businesses replace things for fear of getting a bad review. Now, luckily, we've created an entirely new way to travel. And of course, we have nice things and we have nice place. And many of you have been here and know that. But our philosophy is not about always having something brand new just for the sake of having it new. So we spend a lot of time, especially now that we have more time and no guests, restoring and upcycling things. And so finding ways to take materials. For example, we bought the property here in 2015. It was an abandoned residence, and there were a lot of things left behind, like really beautiful slabs of marble, tons of roof tiles. There were mirrors left behind. And we've been able to upcycle all of those and incorporate them in very tasteful ways into our property and into the suites. And so even now when we're staying a week in each room, and I'm thinking of all the things, all the little changes, all the little decorations, and my mind first goes to, oh, next time the store is open, I'd like to go buy, a little decoration for that corner or something. And then we think and we look around, and suddenly everything we need is already around us in nature. And so we're able to make do with the things that we have and really utilize what we have around us rather than spending more money and creating more waste. Another way that we live this lifestyle of reducing our impact and of getting away from more is growing our own food. And now I know a lot of you live in cities and a lot of you don't have access to growing your own food. But I know when I was in Boston, we were part of community supported agriculture, and we would get, a weekly or a monthly share, which I know is available to many of you. And I can tell you that when it comes to what you spend your money on, I think food is by far one of the most meaningful, because it is through food that you literally get the energy of the land and that you connect to nutrients. And the fresher your food is, the more local your food is, the more likely it is to have the nutrients and to have things in it that will help you fight off things in that area, such as if you have allergies, it'll have pollen, from things that have been growing in with the food. And so eating local is such a huge part of this movement. And finally, I will say I do have some guilty pleasures of things that I buy, and my guilty pleasures right now are buying books and also buying courses. So I'm really hungry for knowledge. And one of the places I used to buy my books from was Amazon, because we are here in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, and we do get Amazon. We get Amazon Spain, Germany, and the UK. And I know a lot of people, a lot of expats, and a lot of locals who live here who order from Amazon. And then I realized, it's great that I'm not buying that much online, but if I'm going to buy something online, can I find a local supplier of these things? Yes, it takes a little bit more work, and I'm planning to roll out a platform to us locally here in San Miguel of ways that we can buy things locally that doesn't require going through Amazon, which, by the way, isn't aligned at all with many of these values that we're being mindful of today. So just taking a moment I know a few people have joined. Hi, Helen. Hello, Paulina. Hola, Jessica. And Jason. Nice. So I just want to see if this is something that resonates for you. And I know some of you joined recently, but talking about getting out of this desire for more, and how going back to John Maynard Keynes, who wrote this famous essay and predicted we would work only 4 hours a day because we would have, with the Industrial Revolution, found all of the ways to efficiently create what we need, and yet now we're working harder than ever. So why is that? Why do you guys think that people are working harder than ever today? And how can we get away from this consumer society that we're always creating more waste? Because in order to get the newest iPhone, there are so many different rare earth elements that are mined in places all over the world largely by children. And I know that there's, Apple and all these companies have policies against child labor, et cetera, et cetera. But at the end of the day, these are materials and chemicals that we're extracting just so we have a newer version of a phone, or just so we have a newer or brand name version of some spring model of clothing. And I think that when we connect with ourselves, when we connect with the value that is deep within, this is when we get away from having to fill ourselves up with things. And by the way, I know there's a lot of conscious marketing for products, but try to differentiate between the people that say, oh, I have solar panels in my house, I have solar power in my house, but then this person has a 5,000 square foot house, for a couple of two people. You can't, you can't cover up the fact that you just are having more by then saying that, okay, yes, you're putting solar panel or renewable energy into that. It doesn't make this exaggeration and this need for more okay. I think coming back to what is essential and coming back to what is really important, there is so much that is fulfilling and that makes us happy that is within, that doesn't require us consuming and destroying our planet in the process. And it doesn't require us destroying each other. So I just want to check the comments here. Oh, obrigada, Paulinha. Muito bem. So let me know if this resonates. And then we're going to get into a little bit of a different kind of practice today. I want to use tapping, which is something I've been using a lot more in my Sunday classes. I teach a online Zoom class every Sunday, and you're welcome to join. I'll put a link to that. But I've been using tapping, and I think it's really powerful. And while we're doing some tapping, I'll be asking you some questions. And so take a moment to find a comfortable seat, if you're not already, and just let yourself get a little heavier. Maybe lean a little forward and a little back. You can hear the beautiful sound of the blackbird here where I am. I'm just noticing any other sounds in your space. And then take a moment to breathe a little more consciously. So let's exhale everything here. Take a deep breath in for 1, 2, 3, 4, and exhale for 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale for 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale for 4, 3, 2, 1. Taking 2 more breaths, feeling your inhale not only in your chest, but also expanding down into your belly. As you exhale, feeling whatever you're sitting on, feeling yourself get a little heavier, feeling supported, shoulders are relaxed. 1 more breath. And exhale. And then slowly, we're going to open our eyes so you can see where I'm tapping. Hey, Jeff. Awesome. And Stu. Yay. So take a moment, open your eyes, and take a look at where we're tapping here. So staying with your breath, you're just going to bring one hand, whichever one, to the side of your hand here. So take a deep breath, exhale. And I want you to repeat these statements either out loud or just to yourself. I have enough. I have enough. And then coming to the top of your head, I have a purpose in this world. I have a purpose in this world. Coming to the center of your forehead, I have a value, and that does not depend on external factors. I have a value, and that does not depend on external factors. I know my self-worth. Tapping on the sides of your eyes. I know my self-worth. I am connected to my purpose. Feeling your fingers tapping right below your eyes here. I am connected to my purpose. And then coming down with one hand to the between your nose and your upper lip. I am worthy. I am worthy. Coming down below your lip, above the chin. I have enough. I have enough. And coming down to right below the collarbones and a little bit to the outside. My needs are met. My needs are met. And then coming down to the sternum here. Happiness is already within me. Happiness is already within me. And then just relax your hands into your lap. Take a deep breath. Exhale. And just noticing here your connection with yourself. Tapping is a simple way to stimulate ends of meridians or energy pathways that run along our body to help release excess energy or to help literally tap into action the flow of energy that naturally moves within us. But when we seek to fill ourselves up with things, when we look externally to fill ourselves up because we are empty inside or we feel empty inside, there can be blockages when what it is that we seek that we can't get. Maybe we feel that, oh, our life will be better if we can buy that fancy house, or we can have that particular car, or if we can live in a certain neighborhood. And if we aren't able to achieve that, there may be an imbalance in the body somewhere. Or maybe we feel that we're constantly comparing our self-worth to others, and always feeling that our neighbor or our friend or our colleague has something better than us and has something that we want that we don't have. Working with feeling this connection within and working with feeling contentment within helps us to recognize that these things that we desire beyond our basic survival, beyond a roof over our head and food and basic needs, which assuming you have those if you're watching these, beyond that, our happiness and our contentment is entirely our choice. And as we meditate, as we do tapping and other practices that help to free energy flowing within us, we literally rewire our brains to find this connection and to foster a connection, realizing that we are completely content, we are worthy, and we have what we need. Take a moment and place your hand on your heart. You can place your other hand on top of that hand, or maybe you want to place a hand on your belly. You can try both and just see which one is better for you. Just taking a moment to deepen your breath once again and feeling this connection with this part of you that is unconditional, that is unconditional contentness and love, and that this doesn't depend on you being a certain way, acting a certain way, looking a certain way, being a certain age, or having certain things. Can you tap into that? Can you feel that? And as you feel that, notice that it's okay to have other thoughts, to have doubts, to have questions. Notice that you're just hearing those doubts, that voice, having those thoughts and watching them arise, and then coming back to your breath, coming back to a connection with yourself. And let us take 3 breaths together here. Deep inhale and exhale. Inhale and exhale. And inhale. And then slowly, when you're ready, you can start to reach your arms up above you, reach up to the sky, stretch it out. Maybe it feels nice to reach one arm long and then the other. Maybe the hands interlaced behind the head, lengthening. And then slowly coming down, just relaxing your arms by your sides, opening up your eyes. Hello, Ritu. So I want to ask you some questions here and think about what you've purchased during the quarantine or lockdown or whatever it is that you're calling it or whatever situation. But what have you purchased? And I'm not asking you just to judge you. I'm just asking this for you to ask yourself. Because as we come out of this, as stores and places open again, as we can start being consumers again, which by the way does fuel our economy and there are benefits to that, of course, but I want us to consider that why are we buying something? Why are we purchasing things? Why are we creating new things? And how do these things feed us? Literally, food, of course, these are basic needs. But how do these things that we purchase feed us, and how do they connect with our self-worth? And every time you make a purchase, I hope you can ask yourself, why are you buying this? Why am I buying this? And I'm not promoting that we stop consuming, because I know that a lot of us, myself included, depend on selling our services to our communities and to people and to others. But I want us to be conscious of this insatiable desire for more. And I want you to ask yourself, what makes you feel full? And when you make purchases, what does that give you? Are there purchases that feed your spirit? Are there purchases that just feed your ego? And why are you making those purchases? And will there be businesses that arise that restore products? I know they already exist in many places, but will businesses come out of this where you can take something you really care about and find someone to fix it for you, find someone to restore an item for you, so that the things we buy become more meaningful and less commoditized? And can we travel not just for leisure? And will you come to Minuvida not just because you want entertainment, but because you want to learn and you want to connect with this part of yourself that is this deep interconnectedness? So I hope I've given you something meaningful to think about. If you haven't been able to see this whole video, I'll post it here and you can watch it from the beginning. But we've been talking about how to get out of the rat race and our insatiable desire for more. And I hope you've learned at least that the way out is in. The way out is into yourself and connecting with this fullness, this wholeness, this contentedness, this universal love that is within. And I hope that as so many of us are suffering with less financially, whether in our business or in our overall, net worth, or how we look at our how much we have, that we find some contentedness and some connection to what is always with us, which is this connection. So please join me every Monday, and feel free to join my Yin yoga class, which is every Sunday at 3 p.m. GMT, which is a great class for beginners and where we do a lot more of this meditation and tapping through some very simple asana poses. So thank you so much. Happy Monday. May you have a mindful Monday, a mindful week, and I'll see you soon. Thank you. Bye, everyone.